Yep.
Muchas gracias de nada.
Huh? I ain't even hear you.
Yeah, I said, hold on. Yeah, you guys can hear me?
I hear you now, yeah.
Yeah. No, man. I said, muchas gracias de nada.
De nada. I hear you. Muchas gracias.
Hey, what's going on, man?
I'm calling, bro. What's everything with you?
Nah, straight, man. Yeah, man. I was waiting, man. I was trying to, cause hey, we had fell asleep, but I had my alarm set to get up, man. But the thing is, I was like checking my email. Normally, it'll tell me when somebody up like that already got on. But
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah, for some reason, it's not updated. It's not telling me that anybody got on. So I thought I was up. I thought I was gonna be the first one on that thing. You know what I mean? My brother texted me. Yeah, say a movie, man. What Savage, you gonna?
Yeah, man. Yo, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Yo, Joe, what's up, man?
What's going on, baby?
Not much.
Aye.
Yeah, man. But let me pull this thing up. Hold on for a second. Thing is a movie. Yeah, we freaking gotta. Yeah, man. They wild. We gotta take the coronavirus test before we touch down in Jamaica, man.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, they sent us a thing today. They sent us the email, so we got to go get tested. Try to get tested.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so hold on for a second. Yeah, they're. Hey. But I think somebody, I don't know, somebody's phone. Oh, you know what? Hold on, let me make sure that it's not me. Hold on for a second. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yo, close my door.
Hold on 1 second. Let me do this real quick. I'm on the AirPods. So there's somebody else trying to get in. Siobhan. Siobhan, what's up? Siobhan, you can hear me? Siobhan, you can hear me?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, what's going on, man?
Chilling, man. Stay woke so I could get on here.
Yeah.
When you leaving?
Nah, we leaving the 26th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be in contact with you Friday. Well, just check your thing on Friday. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, no, I don't even know, but I'll get with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me share this chart.
Yeah, 'cause I don't see nothing.
Yeah, you can see it, right?
Yeah, I see it now.
All right. So on this webinar, so remember last 2 weeks ago I did the webinar. It was on when to take sales. So that was both of those. The first one and the second was on when to take sales. So this one's going to be on the ones we do today. It's going to be strictly on when to take buys, right? So you're going to have a cheat code for that. So you can just reference these as far as going back and watching the videos So yeah, this will be when to take buys only. So we're only going to look at buys only on this particular on these particular webinars. So let me go to the, let me pull this up. All right. Let me try all right, so in this chart, and I'm gonna try to, let me go down to the 5 hour, the 5 year will be. Yeah, actually, 12 hours is good. All right, so right now, so remember, this is only when to take buys, right? So what I did is, and this is what you guys can do, what I recommend for you to do is you're gonna try to find the trend of where price is going. And you can see it clear on this chart. This is actually the daily chart, right? So this is the daily chart. So basically what I did was I drew a trend line. I pretty much put price in the channel, right? Because price pretty much moves when it's trending with lower highs, higher lows, whatever the case may be on the higher time frame, or if it's starting to go into an uptrend, it's gonna be in what you call a channel. A channel is basically where you can draw two trend lines, one at the top and one at the bottom, and price is pretty much staying within that channel, right? So if you guys notice here, I got a trend line from March 27th. It started there, and then it's been putting in swing highs, what they call, right? Which are basically like kind of like higher highs. So remember, you need two touches to form a trend line. So on the top side of it, we got a trend line from here going across. And on the bottom side, on March 19th, you had a low put in. You had a touch of the trend line here. So it's continuing to move, right? So basically, when you're looking for buys and sells, price should technically follow this channel, right? So what we can probably predict that's gonna happen is that if this uptrend is gonna remain intact, is that price is gonna go up to approximately at some point the 142. It's gonna try to test 140, 141, 142, 143, 500, somewhere up here where this line is, and then price is gonna drop back down and test the 134 area, right? So if price is gonna move correctly now, or it could drop down and test the trend line right before it goes up. So it could come back down here and it could test the blue line and the black line, which would be like at 133.500. And then it could bounce back up, right? And go all the way back up to 143 and then break and come back down and retest and go up and so on and so forth. So this is on the daily time frame. So it works on all time frames. So this is the 4 hour chart. It's just going to be a lot more candles. So you guys can see how it makes sense. Like price is staying in this channel, right? As of right now, price is respecting this channel as far as going up. So you guys can see how price went up there, tried to retest it, it failed it, it came back down. Look how many touches you got on this trend line. So remember, the trend line started here on the bottom. Then you come over here, you got all these touches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then bounce up, right? So now it looks like price put in a higher low, and it could possibly continue to go up. So that trend line is going to stay there, right? And it's going to follow price. Price is going to respect this until it decides to go into, if it puts in a lower low. So at this point, where the price currently is right now, in order to break the trend line, it's going to have to drop below 133,500. Once it drops below 133,500, it's out of the trend line. It's out of that channel, and price could drop a whole lot more. But right now, it's kind of respecting it, right? So you just got to keep that in mind so you always know where price is. So talking about when we're taking buys, because these two webinars are only going to be when you're looking for buys. You're going to look for buys when price is basically putting in higher lows and higher highs, right? That's when you want to look for buys. So you want to look for buys when price is actually putting in double bottoms and triple bottoms. So if I go to the 30-minute chart, and we'll start on the 30-minute chart, right? So say, and I'm going to put the 200 EMA on the chart. And then if you kind of notice off of the trend line, what happened before price did this huge jump? You had price that tapped. It basically tapped and respected 132, right? So look how many times 132 was tested. Got it right here. They tried to test it there. They tested it there. But that's in basically in addition to the trend line, right? So look, trend line was already drawn. So you got to know, if you draw that long-term trend line like that I have right now, you already know you're waiting to see how price reacts off of the trend line for buys, right? So price dropped down during it looks like during the London session here, right? It was dropping because this is like 3 o'clock in the morning. So price dropped, right? Then it started to form support off of the 132.000 level, right? The red line. But in coincidence, it's also where the trend line, long-term trend line was, right? So all price did was basically came down and it tested this area and then bounced up, right? So like this particular trade, 30-minute chart, the US session opens at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? So notice the time, 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock, US session's open, right? So if if you waited for a touch, this was the closest that it got to the 132 level on this 8:30 candle. It came down to 132.045. You could have took a buy and you could have held it for 500 pips and been out of the trade at 10 o'clock, 10:30, right? Then it came back down and tested it again at 11. You could have held it again right here, and you got a bullish pin bar right off of the trend line, which is another indication that price was ready for a buy here, right? You could have took another buy here off the trend line and off the 132.000, and price eventually went right back to the 500 level. Then price came back down again during the London session. Same thing, bullish pin bar, right? This is 2:30 in the morning, or I'm sorry, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's another buy. This trade, if you would have held it, it went from 132.27, 0.27 in the London session to 133.500 in the US session. So 1,500 pips, right? Then if you miss that trade, you're looking for a double bottom or a double top, right? So what you could do is, for the next buy, what you could do is you put this indicator on the chart. It's called pivots, high and low. So I'll show you guys where to go to add it on. You go to indicators, you put in pivots and high and low. This is the one you select, and then it pops up on your chart, right? And then it basically showed you highs and lows. Now, this isn't necessarily real time. However, because sometimes it's probably about an hour, it might be an hour delayed, 45 minutes delayed, whatever, but it'll show you until you're comfortable spotting the trends, right? Because this price, 1:30 in the morning, it tapped 133, right? So if you're looking for a buy, you know you're looking for a double bottom. So you missed that buy because it's 1:30 in the morning. You don't trade until the US session. So US sessions opens at 8 o'clock. Look what happened. This is the 8 o'clock 30-minute candle right here, right? So you know you're looking for a buy. In the previous session, which was the London session, price bounced off of 133.000. You got a high percentage chance that price is gonna bounce again off 133.000, and the 200 EMA it basically came down and it tested and tapped on a 30-minute chart, the 200 EMA, right? And then look what happens. It shoots up and goes to the next level, which is 134. So about 11:30, if you would have held the trade basically for 2 hours and a half, or 3 hours, I'm sorry, 3 hours and a half, you'd have made 1,000 pips. $1 lot would have been $1,000. $5 lot would have been 5,000 off of that particular trade, right? So that was a double bottom. So how often does it happen, right? Price doesn't move in a straight line. Price moves in waves. And when I say waves, I basically just mean this. So if you notice price is gonna always move like this. It's gonna come down. It's gonna break above. Let me do it again, actually, huh? So I can show you guys. Price is gonna move in waves, right? So if you're looking for buys off of, I'm just making an example, right? And let me go to a blank chart so you guys can see it. Say you're looking for buys off of 135, this level right here, right? 135, the red line. You're gonna wait for price to break above 135, right? And then you're gonna wait for it to come back down and test. This is called a retest. It's gonna retest 135. That's where you're gonna get in. You're gonna get in off of 135. You don't want to get in above 135. You want it to retest 135. It might even come down a little bit and fake out people that think that, oh, it was a buy, and then it's gonna go up, right? And then go higher. Then price is gonna come back down and maybe test exactly 135. Then it's gonna go higher, right? Then it's gonna come down again. It might test 135, or it might test 135 like 100. Then it's gonna go higher. That's how price moves. Price doesn't move in a straight line. So I say that to say this, there's always gonna be a retest. There's always gonna be a retest on price. And the reason why is because you got people that missed, or banks that missed all of their orders, possibly didn't get filled the first time, right? So if the bank, remember, banks move the market, banks move the Forex market. So if all their orders, sorry, I gotta go back, so, and then it'll reset the chart. So if let me go back to this, hold on 1 second. Yeah, so if price is basically, so if you look at the chart, right, you guys will kind of see what I'm saying, and we'll look for some buys here. And this is a perfect example right here, because price is like trending, so it's putting in higher highs, higher lows. So what I mean by higher highs and higher lows. So if you put on the pivot indicator, now remember, this isn't a live chart, right? So it's going to be easy to see. You're going to have to spot it yourself. Well, I'm going to show you right now. So look at this right now. This is off of 131,500, right? This was on October 19th. You got a break above 131,500, right? And the crazy thing on this chart is that it's going to be easier, to be honest. This is a 30-minute chart. Just start getting comfortable drawing trend lines if you can't see the price action. So if you draw a trend line, remember I was saying it takes 3 touches to basically make the trend line valid. So if I draw a trend line and then zero in on the chart, you'll notice here, right? You got a trend line at 10 o'clock in the morning, 134, 434. Then you got a retest of it. Let me draw it a little sharper. Perfect right here. 130, 434. Then it came price bounced. Then it came back down. It retested 136.54. Then it bounced. Then it came back and it retested 137.24. Then it bounced, right? So this is the thing. When you look at the chart, notice what's going on here, right? Off of these pivot high standards is 134, 434, 136.54, and 137.24, right? And what that means is that price put in higher lows, right? Every low was higher than the previous low, right? because you got 130.434, then you got 130.654, which is almost 200 pips higher than 130.434. Then you got the next side, which is higher, you know, which is about almost 100 pips higher than 130.654, right? So price moves in waves, and this trend line was respected. So if you saw that trend, 3 o'clock in the morning, if you would have looked left and saw that price was putting in higher lows, you could have drew a trend line, and to be honest, right at 3 o'clock, you would have took a buy because price retested the trend line at 3 o'clock. You could have took a buy, and look what happened. Price exploded. It went from 130.724 to 131.826 by 4 o'clock. So in 1 hour on this particular trade, you would have made 1,000 pips just by drawing the trend line and seeing that it was putting in higher lows, right? So if I zoom in, a little bit, you guys will see coming from 132, 122 right here, all price did was basically do a W pattern, right? So if you notice, for buys, this is a quick W pattern. Price came down, right? Kind of played around and shot up. So it's like a W. Let me take this off. So let's go to the 5-hour chart. All right. So any questions so far on this as far as when to take buys so far? Any questions?
No.
All right. So you guys noticed right here, right? So remember before I was telling you guys when to take sales last week, right? It was you look for three lower highs, and then you're going to take sales. It's the same thing on the buy standpoint. You're going to look for 3 higher lows. Think about it, right? It's the opposite of what I said last week because we're taking buys. The other thing is too, is that the pattern's going to change. So the pattern's going to change. So instead of being up here, notice here, right? I was like, hey, look for 3. Last week I was like, look for 3 lower highs, which would be a green, black, green, black, green, black. So like right here, right? It's like, hey, you got a green, black in rejection there, right? Remember last week, you got a green, black rejection here, and you got a green, black rejection here, which would be 3 lower highs, right? So you know that you're looking for a sell off of 133. And what happened? The next candle, tap 133, you take a sell, your stop loss is right above the previous high of the candle that closed before it, which would be right here. Your stop loss would be right here, right? And you can hold it down. That trade right here, look, it went from 133 down to 130.7980 or whatever, right? So that's like 2,100 pips, 2,200 pips. So look at when you're looking at buys, it's gonna flip flop. So you're gonna look for a black green, right? 3 black green. You want to look for 2 to 3 black green patterns or formations, right? So you got one right here. You got a black green, right, which is actually a zone, right? Price formed a zone. Then you got another one right here, double bottom. This is basically a double bottom on the 5-hour chart because you got a black green and a black green, right? They rejected. Let me put it back to my regular color. They rejected. Nope. I don't know how I did that. Hold on 1 second. Trying to get my brush. Oh, there it is. See if it'll work. But you guys can see it, right? It rejected this whole area. And I'm gonna draw my zone. I don't know why it's not doing it. Hold on. Brush. Rectangle. That's my, yeah, that was my fault. So price rejected this whole area, right? So with that formation, so you know that you're looking for buys, right? Black, green, price came back. Look, it gave you the trade. Price came right back on the third one, this candle right here, which opened magically at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is a high volume session. It came back and it tapped this level, which was basically 125. Give me 1 second. And that's red because it's price basically tapped 125 and shot up, right? So you would have been in this trade for, this is a 5-hour chart. So you would have been in the trade for 5 hours. This candle closed at 8 o'clock in the morning and it closed at 120, basically 127. So you would have been in a chart in the trade for 5 hours, the entire London session, and you would have made 2,000 pips on that one trade, right? So let me take this off. And we'll find some other patterns so you guys can kind of see. And if you held it, the crazy part is all it did was a W pattern. You guys notice right here, trend line, price came down, right? Then it went up. Then it came down here, right? And then it went up higher. So remember that diagram I drew earlier? Doesn't move in a straight line. So price is gonna come down, came up, came down, went higher. So all it is a W pattern. So if you held it, that particular trade would have been 10,000 pips. The only difference is you would have got in on March 18th. You would have got out on March 27th. So you would have been in that trade for 9 days, but you would have made 10,000 pips on that trade. So a $1 lot would have made you $10,000. You would have been in the trade for 9 days. So it's still a good trade. So let me go to, let me take these off real quick. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna wait for a price to tell you that it's forming 3 higher highs, right? Because that's when the biggest moves are gonna happen. So look, if I draw a trend line from this July 1st low, this is a low, right? Because price is telling me basically when it puts a price here, it's telling you out of all these candles, the most recent candles, this is the low, right? 132.950. was the low. So if I draw a trend line from there, right, and I draw it up to the next high, it would be, or the next touch, it would be off 133.730. So notice what happens. Every time you get multiple touches on the trend line, you normally get a pretty good bounce high, right? Because that means that the trend line was respected. And you're gonna still use the levels that we know, right? The 0.00 to 0.790 and the 0.500. This is just extra confluence that price is gonna remain in the uptrend. If the trend line is respected, then you know that there's a high percentage chance that it's going to remain in the uptrend, and you're going to look for price action to confirm. Price action to confirm on this will be like this bullish, the 3 touches, or it would be like this, these bullish pin bars that formed off of the trend line. You got one right here, and you got one right here. So when this one formed, if you missed it at 6 o'clock in the morning, right, you will wait for another bullish tap in the pin bar. So you would wait basically for a tap of it, and notice how exactly as it touches the trend line going across, you would have got in at 133.790. You could have held this trade all the way up, and it would have got you about 800 pips, right? Then price basically consolidated. This is consolidation right here because there's low volume. And then as soon as volume starts to pick back up, you got the London session. What happens again? You got a bullish pin bar, 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Bullish pin bar, 3 o'clock in the morning when volume picked back up. And what happens? They fake people out. Maybe somebody thought it was going to drop. It shot right back above the trend line, right? So, and then look what happens. At 8 o'clock, this is the 8 o'clock candle. You got a bullish pin bar right off 134.790. So what you want to do is you want to wait. You don't have to get into the market exactly at 8 o'clock. You don't have to, right? What you're going to do is you're going to wait to see how price reacts when the market opens at 8 o'clock. So if you're trading the US session and you know in the London session price was bullish, you want to wait to see if price is going to come back down and retest the area that it tested during the London session. And this particular example is right here. This level was, remember, this bullish pin bar is at 3 o'clock in the morning. So price could very well come back down and retest this area and then bounce higher, right? But it didn't. So what you see is you want to wait for the 8 o'clock candle to close, and it basically told you, hey, you know what? We're going to keep this above 790 and we're going to go higher because you got a bullish pin bar. So in that case, at 8:30, when this 30-minute candle opens, you're going to try to get in as close as you can to 134.790, right? Because this is where price retested before and then bounced higher. So in this case, you would have got in around 8:30, 134.838, right? That would have been about your entry. Your stop loss could have been right below at 134.780 roughly. This trade alone would have got you, if you held it, it went up to 135.416. So that was actually a 600 pip trade that you would have made basically by 11 o'clock. So you would have been in the trade for 2 hours and a half, maybe 3 hours, and you made 600 pips. Not bad. Just by following the trend line. All right, so that was one trade, right? So if I zoom out a little bit, you can see this is basically would have faked some people out because you got three higher lows here. You got one right here. Remember the pattern? Green, black, and then green, black. So you could have took a sell, right? This is crazy, but this is how crazy the market basically repeats itself. So remember what I was saying last week or the week before? You draw a zone across, price never really closed above it. Once it closes above the level, then you know that you're looking for buys because it's going to be going back in an uptrend. So until then, you actually, when you see the 3 lower highs, you can take sells. Your take profit would be, the first take profit would be at the closest level, which would be the low that it broke above, which technically would be either 790 or 0.500. And you can see here, 1, 2, 3. You take a sell on this candle, which was at midnight of 135.188. Price dropped all the way down to 134.5. You could say 600. So you're talking that's about 600 pips on that particular trade. As soon as price starts putting in bullish formation again, you want to get out of the trade, right? You don't want to hold it. What's bullish formation? Right here. Black green, right? And a bullish pin bar here. You're out of the trade. You want to be done because remember, you know that prices, once the trend line is broken, and you notice how that trend line I was talking about earlier, this is still here, or this is the new one I drew actually. It broke, price is always going to come back and retest that trend line. It's always going to retest 99% of the time. So it came back and it retested. You got a green black rotation here, which is not a bearish rotation pattern. It's actually a bullish pattern. A lot of people don't know that, right? They think that, oh, it's green here, but it's black here. I'm gonna take a sell. No, like it's right at the trend line. So that means that price is actually trying to go higher. And then if I show you guys here this pattern, you're gonna see it right away. Price is putting in lower highs now to go back the other way. It's faking people out. Look, you got one right there, which is black green. You got black green right here, right? So you want to, and then look, you got black green right here. So you could be looking for buys once you see that this first pattern. Price is going to try to put in a lower high, or I'm sorry, a higher low if it's going to remain in the uptrend, and that's what it did, right? So you could have took a buy of 134.790 and rode it up for about 600 pips back the other way. So look, there's so many trades. You just basically can't get greedy and be patient and wait for your setups, right? Once you get comfortable, you can take buys and sells. There's plenty of times, right? We know that price is always going to retest. There's plenty of times where you're waiting for the retest on a higher time frame. But guess what? In order for it to retest it, if you're looking for sells, that means that price is going to allow you to take buys back to the area where you want to sell from. That's just how it works. And I'll show you guys. I gotta send you guys the next one, and then I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So I'll send you guys the next link. It's gonna kick me out of this one.
All right.
All right.